From the top of a mountain in Switzerland, here are my 5 predictions for the Mormon Church in 2026. Actually, I had to get down from that mountain and come back to the UK to record this video because it was just too cold. Also, I lost my hat on a bus in Switzerland, so now my head's cold. Anyway, here are my top 5 predictions for the Mormon Church in 2025, with number 5 being the most controversial. And yes, I know I could have put my most controversial one first, but then you wouldn't watch the whole video, would you? And that would displease the algorithm gods. You know, I never miss an opportunity to include this clip in my videos.
To remove the Lord's name from the Lord's church is a major victory for Satan.
And yet, in the same way, the church was able to say it disavows the theories advanced in the past that black skin is a sign of divine disfavor or curse, even though those theories were the teachings of past prophets. It would seem then that the church has no problem throwing past prophets under the bus to serve the current prophet's agenda, even if the actions of past prophets were really quite public. Because let's be honest, in the midst of the multi-million-dollar I'm a Mormon campaign, in which the word Mormon was being plastered all over cities and billboards, buses even, were you really thinking that the very next prophet would declare the use of the word Mormon a
major victory for Satan?
So the fact we are already seeing it make a soft comeback amongst certain Mormon influencers means that it's not a stretch to think we could be heading back into a world where it's okay to say the M word again. Plus, you know, church lawyers getting antsy about other people using the word Mormon. The sweet taste of sinning. Only joking, like I would ever let you catch me drinking tea. It's like you don't know me at all. But just maybe, people aren't going to have to hide this filthy habit for much longer. I'm pretty sure at least one person makes this prediction every year. And this year, it's my turn. It's my prediction that the prohibition on tea or coffee drinking will be softened, if not completely lifted, by the end of this year. And like with tattoos, it could be that the church doesn't come out and say, right, tea and coffee are now allowed, but rather they will stop explicitly prohibiting them. And Mormons are very good at gaslighting themselves. Trust me, I was one. And we can see it with the recent changes to temple garments. Overnight, sleeve length was never really a consideration of modesty, despite explicit church teachings to the contrary. And similarly, there has been strong rhetoric about the drinking of coffee, which will just be ignored by those heading over to Dutch Bros.
Though she knew it was contrary to the word of wisdom, she developed the habit of drinking coffee and kept a coffee pot on the back of her stove. She claimed that the Lord will not keep me out of heaven for a little cup of coffee, but because of that little cup of coffee, she could not qualify for temple recommend, and neither could those of her children who drank coffee with her.
This video is not sponsored by Dutch Bros. There is nothing in this mug, and to be honest, I think Dutch Bros is a coffee place. I've heard about it, but I'm not entirely sure, so correct me if I'm wrong. The taste of fresh air. Nothing in it, still. The current leadership of the Mormon Church are as white as this guy. You've got Gong and Suarez, sure, adding some racial diversity to the mix. But this year, in the year 2026, 48 years after the ban on salvation for black members of the church and their exclusion from holding the priesthood offices of the church, we might see that change. We might see the racial diversity increase even more. We might see a black apostle. My prediction is Edward Dube. He's in the right area of leadership, the presidency of the 70, and he is most importantly in this instance a black African man. There's not many of those to choose from in senior church leadership. And while he is the most senior of the options, there is also Peter M. Johnson. If they can't face having a black African man, maybe another option to soften things is by having a man of African heritage who is a born and bred American. But that would of course break the streak that the last 3 apostles that have been called have not been Americans. Maybe Dallin H. Oaks isn't ready to take such a progressive step. Because yes, despite it being 2026, calling a black man to a leadership position within the church would still be viewed by many as progressive. It's been 48 years, guys, and even then you were late. So, am I missing something? But with the age of the current prophet sitting at a ripe 93 years old, and with the next in line being 92, We could see the, again by Mormon standards, more liberal Dieter F. Uchtdorf assuming the mantle of prophet, and I wouldn't put it past him to try and make history. You know who else enjoys the great outdoors? Dieter F. Uchtdorf. The man is in his 80s and he's still out on bike rides with his wife Harriet. The moment the current prophet, and the next in line who is far less healthy looking, take their final bow, then Dieter F. Uchtdorf will be the church's first non-American prophet and president since John Taylor in the late 1800s. I'm sorry, but it's getting cold. I've had to put my gloves on, so I'm not going to be switching up locations too many more times. But to be honest, Oaks, and particularly Eyring, could just go at any time. And so it's not unreasonable to think that by the end of this year, we could see Dieter F. Uchtdorf as president of the Mormon Church.
So the key is to follow the living prophet.
And with that ascendancy, I sure hope we see some divergence from the current prophet's attitudes to things like, say, apologies.
In a Tribune story that we published on Tuesday, Elder Oaks, you were quoted as saying that the church doesn't seek apologies and we don't give them. And of course, this sparked a whole storm on social media about those who wonder how this view comports with Christian theology. Again, wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to that.
I'm not aware that the word apology appears anywhere in the scriptures, Bible or Book of Mormon. The word apology contains a lot of connotations in it and a lot of significance. We do not seek apologies. When our temple was desecrated in California, when people were fired and intimidated, when a lot of other coercive measures were used, we sought no apology. That's what I meant by saying we don't seek apology. We think that the best way to solve these problems is not a formal statement of words that an apology consists of, but talking about principles and goodwill among contending viewpoints.
And that brings me to my final and the most controversial prediction of this entire video, which is, if Dieter F. Uchtdorf becomes president of the church by the end of this year, then I think we will see an apology. For what exactly? Who knows? I don't really care. All I know is that when he said this...
And to be perfectly frank, there have been times when members or leaders in the church have simply made mistakes. There may have been things said or done that were not in harmony with our values, principles, or doctrine.
He really got my hopes up that he would be the prophet to start the practice of accountability amongst Mormon prophets. Yeah, a man can dream. But you know what? If you think I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, because I'm probably wrong. So thank you very much everyone for watching. Have a wonderful new year. And if you want to see more videos, stuff from behind the scenes and other stuff from my life, then you can go check out my Patreon. And if you want to support me, the like button is a great way to do that. And the YouTube gods think that you will like this video here, so click on that one.